On today's episode of FRRadio Radio, we welcome on Chance Moquett. Chance is the head of strategic projects for Equibase. This was a really fun conversation, ranging from his start in racing as the son of a prominent trainer, all the way to sneak previews of some things to come with the revamped Equibase site, some tools that are coming in the whole 9 yards. This is truly one of the most fun conversations I've had on this podcast. A little bit all over the place. I think Chance and I both have similar brains in terms of ideas popping in and out. Chance probably did a better job of synthesizing them than myself. But regardless, this is a super duper fun conversation. Super actionable as well in terms of things to come and some calls to action from Chance as well. So we hope you enjoy this conversation with Chance.
FRRadio Radio, where the race begins. The homies have reached the starting gate, and they're off.
What's going on, Chance?
Hello, how are you, Matt?
Living the dream, bro. Appreciate you popping on here.
Of course, I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Where in the world are you recording from?
I'm recording from 821 Corporate Drive, which is the Jockey Club. Equibase is on the first floor. It's 7:15 p.m. I went to Holly and I went to the Keith and Andy wedding last night, and so I woke up this morning in Nashville and spent the afternoon digging out, and I was like, oh, this works out great. I'm going to talk with Matt at 7:00, and so I'll just stay in the office. I got a little evening cup of coffee.
Too kind, bro. You should have pushed me back. I'm sure you're fighting whatever scaries come after a Nashville wedding. I'm sure hit a little extra.
Yeah, the scaries are all of the work and all of the unread emails. That's the only scary. But we're good. Clean inbox, good. I could trade out this coffee for a cold beer, and it would be just fine.
I got a cold beer here, so I'll drink two for you tonight.
I appreciate that. That's what I need.
But no, yeah, I think what would be a cool way to start is, I love this question because I think it cuts like through the BS. It's like, if you get into an Uber and the guy asks you just left the track, you're at Keedland, you just pulled out, had a great day, feeling good, and he kind of turns around and goes like, "What do you do for work?" How do you answer that question?
That is a great question. What do I do for work? I normally assume that people aren't horribly affiliated with horse racing. And so I say that I work for the equivalent of the league office. I try to be somebody that sits between industry relations and white collar and also has blue collar experience in the sport of horse racing. And my job is to try to translate between the horsemen and the business and try to push the sport forward.
Yeah, I think it's a very cool role. I mean, I think you're in a unique position given your background to be able to kind of leverage a bunch of different life experiences you have, kind of the soft skills, the hard skills, the whole 9 yards there. But obviously, like, I think kind of take us through the journey, son of a trainer. So you kind of came up that way. Kind of like give us a little bit of background about kind of how you landed where you landed. And maybe we could start with, like, did you ever envision yourself in this position?
No, I think that, look, from the time that I was a toddler, if you could have asked me, what are you going to be when you grow up? It would have been a horse trainer. I think that I admired the job that my dad did. It's really unique. Being, I kind of aged along with my dad's career. And so by the time that I could like have an articulate conversation about growing up as a horse trainer, Ron Moquett was like at least somewhat known and was, a perennial top trainer in Oaklawn and was branching into Kentucky and doing all that stuff. But whenever I started, whenever I was in the shed row, a lot of people assumed it was Oaklawn Park or Churchill Downs. It was Blue Ribbon Downs and Will Rogers. Like I grew up like really blue collar racetracks, and sort of got to got to progress alongside my dad. So looking back at it, I realized like, the first time that I got to go to Belmont was for, the Manhattan Stakes. Whenever my dad trained a horse named Bim Bam, we ran against Giopani and Mission Impossible. And like, but I realized that like, that was my dad's first trip to Belmont too.
That's great.
And so it was like, my dad's first win at Saratoga, I'm in the winner's circle and I'm like, freshman in high school, or I'm sorry, freshman in college or whatever. And I didn't realize at the time, like that there was, there wasn't a lot of separation between my dad and his career progression and me stepping alongside of him. And so, yeah, that's a long way of saying like, yeah, I'm a trainer's kid. My dad was running kind of alongside me, growing his career as a young trainer in the sport. And as he gained success, really the hard way, he made a deal with me. He said, listen, I want you to do anything but be a horse trainer, right out of school, at least, try something. And so I grew up in Arkansas, and I went to the state school in Arkansas. I went to the University of Arkansas. Go Hawks, go Razorbacks.
Suey. Our Arkansas Derby Day this year was one of the top days of my entire life. Like we had Saturday win or whatever. So it's like I was chanting that in the infield. I was leading the chant.
It's great. I had a great time at school, and Northwest Arkansas is this little gem of workforce, because there's 3 Fortune 300 companies within like 5 miles of each other. And so people say, Walmart,
Tyson,
and JB Hunt. And so you either breed the chicken, sell the chicken, or take the chicken from breeder to be sold. People think. And so I went to JB Hunt. And so I worked for JB Hunt for just shy of a decade, totally on accident. I'll put a bow on this whole trainer's kid thing, but I went into the quote unquote real world, and I realized that the work ethic of somebody on the backstretch goes a long way in, and there's not very many professions in the world, I would say. You think about what a horse trainer does. They wake up at 3:30 a.m. They do manual labor with leading a team of people who probably speak English as their second language. And then they take a shower, put on a suit and tie, and have to appeal to their millionaire owner. And they go from 3 a.m. to 7 p.m. every night. And so the scope of relatability that you have to have, that I was exposed to, very much translated to success for me in the real world. And so I had a great career with JB Hunt. During COVID, I took some opportunities to sort of spread my wings and explore earnings potential in the technology space. I worked for 2 different startups trying to like really learn data and tech management. And then I came back I had to scratch the itch. I came back. I worked as my dad's head assistant for 2 years. And the last 6 months of that was in conversations with understanding, like, okay, my dad is still relatively young and doing good. I don't want to compete with him. Don't want to peel off any of his owners. How can I have an impact in this sport without being a trainer? And I met leadership within the Jockey Club and Equibase that through several months of conversations, we created this thing called strategic projects. And that's what I do. I have a vague title that allows me to run at lots of interesting problems, and Lord knows this industry has them.
Yeah, I think to me, you're doing like, God's work within the industry here. I think you're one of the best follows on X. I think it's data driven. It's kind of storytelling through it. I think you just get it. Kind of like you said, you can relate to a wide range of people. And I think you understand, I think one of the most unique, in a sense, of a good thing and a bad thing about racing is there's so many different stakeholders. The rope is trying to be pulled a bunch of different ways, and everyone kind of wants their cut. And it's like, there's a lot of different backgrounds. It's the beauty of it. It's like, when a horse wins a race, you have like the person that's English second language has been in America for 3 months, celebrating with somebody that's like, a titan of industry, and they're like, at the moment, it's like they're equally as happy, like they're hugging, like it's for everybody, and it brings people together, which is awesome. That's also difficult in a sense of like there's a lot of people to appease, and a lot of different like backgrounds that are kind of at stake here too.
But yeah, you nailed it. I really appreciate the kind words. Some of my followers on X probably, I don't think they'd agree with you. um, but I appreciate the gesture. And yeah, look, it's this magical sport that pulls a lot of people together, all for this. Like, I find it so funny. It's ironic to me that horses don't talk at all, right? Like even dogs bark or whatever, and horses aren't very auditory at all. And it makes sense that so many people would find a way to speak their language, right? And so it's like the language of horse is what pulls everything and everybody together from all different walks of life. And that's my mission. But my mission within the building here is to try to refocus on like, what are we here for? It's for the horse. Like, we're here for the horse, and horses like to run, and we like to race them and highlight everybody's ability and all of the little things that come into it. But I try to just make sure their language is heard every day as much as I can.
Love that. I think like one of the things that I kind of know you for is the ratings handicap races and the championing of that, kind of burgeoning class of races that are now being offered. Take us through like from like how that became an idea to where it's at now, and then kind of where you see it going in the future.
Yeah. So the ratings handicap or the rating system is something that has been an idea for way longer than I've been in the role. So people have talked about it with various levels of urgency, for more than a decade. And so whenever I came in and whenever I was in preliminary conversations with actually at the time it was the Jockey Club, it was where what is a really big need for the industry, and whenever we landed on moving forward progress with some sort of a rating system and figuring out how to manage that project and move it forward, it made the most sense for me to spend my time at Equibase and for that to be sort of a keynote project of mine in my first year, helped by people wildly smarter than me in it from a data science standpoint and an engineering standpoint. And I think it's important to, you've mentioned in the past that you like to be binary with things. I think that there's two different sides of this. There's the really technical side of all of the things that go into the rating itself, which I'm happy to spend as much or as little time on as you would like. And then there's the conceptual side and the 30,000 foot view of what it can do for the industry, which I enjoy explaining more. And it's very simple. We want horses to be able to run more, have bigger fields, and be able to stay with the same connections if that's what the connections want. It's not designed to replace anything. It's not designed to be anything other than an option for an industry that I think pretty unanimously would say needs help in the racing office and needs help with field size and ultimately handicappers and gamblers that would like to have a compelling product to wager on, that they feel like that they as retail bettors have a shot to beat any computer wagering systems that are out there. And I think that the best way to do that is to have a confusing race with a bunch of conditions that people haven't heard of meeting for the first time. So that's the goal of the rating system. And it's just it's a lot of data points that go into how a horse fits in the entire population and kind of ignores everything else. It looks at who they ran against, looks at how fast they ran, it looks at how all those horses ran in their next start. It takes all the things that you would look at as a handicapper with PPs, with sort of an extra layer of detail that an algorithm is afforded. And then it gives a racing secretary an opportunity to take a slice of that line and hopefully have a compelling race.
Yeah, I think for me, what stands out about it and what stands out about your explanation of it right there is, yes, it's owner centric in a sense of if you want to keep the horse, it's a mechanism to do that, but it's also like a horse player driven initiative as well. I think on previous conversations, don't want to put words in your mouth, but you kind of explained it as you want these rating handicap races to be difficult to narrow down. You want it to be one where it's like, shit, this is a tough sequence. If I can get this one right, I'm gonna get paid. So it's like it's refreshing to like, I obviously like we run a partnership, whatever, but I came at this, I grew to love the game as a horse player, going to Monmouth Park every Saturday after stocking shelves at Costco at, from 4 a.m. to noon. So it's like, I think the more initiatives that are driven around creating a better game for the two active parties in the business, which are owners and horse players, which is selfish for me to say, because like that's what I'm both of those things as well. But like I think when you boil it down, like those are your two elective groups. I mean, like, yes, breeding is kind of a pseudo third, but you can kind of loop those into owners. So I guess like when you were kind of going through the initial iterations with these ratings handicap, I guess, which internal group kind of fought you the hardest on exactly kind of what you were building with it?
Yeah, great question.
So explain what you just pulled up here.
Okay, so you were talking about like a compelling wagering thing. So we have this dashboard that we've created that it gives you everything that you want to know about the rating system. So you can see how many races have been run, where they're at, what the month-over-month volume looks like, all of these metrics, which I'm happy to share with you or anybody else. But what I was going to show you is that if you look at your handle performance, what you were talking about having a compelling race, is like even as these things are still catching on, you can see that here the ratings races are performing middle of the road as far as favorites go. Like they're on the right side of the middle of the road, but like you're averaging 8-5, 9-5 as a favorite in most of these fields. But if you look at the handle per runner, people are betting 15% more than they are non-ratings races on the same card on these races, which means that a couple of different ways that goes, right? There's either more value in a race because people don't know how to bet, or maybe the computers are confused or whatever. Or there's just more room for people to have different opinions, and it's helping, it's helping the dollars and cents be paid off there. And so I think that it's really cool to be able to see this. I come in every day. That's the first thing I do is refresh and see where the race is at, who's riding them, how many do we have entering today, and at where, what kind of races are they, so on and so forth. And then in those same races, I like to go through here and say, like I'm looking at Fair Hill and Laurel this was for a Delaware race that I was looking at a race they had in the board. So I can go here and say, all right, dirt route for girls in the mid-Atlantic. And then, here's my list of everybody in this spot. So how racing secretaries, racing offices, everybody has access to this as well. But this kind of lets you see where was their last activity at, where was their, when was it, and what was their last race time that they ran in, so on and so forth, so that people can then look at, racing officials can then look at this and go, okay, well, Vicky Oliver has Monrive in this race. This is a horse that just ran an allowance race and won. Probably not a good example for the ratings race. But if I go down here and I catch this, this 40, I can call Michael Simone or Brandon Colt and say, hey, your horse just ran fifth in a starter. Did you know that we had this 45, 35 to 45 ratings handicap entering tomorrow at my track? That's the concept to this report. And so we try to be data driven and make sure that we're keeping an eye on things. And that's what it looks like. So that's how Handle works, man.
And I love, this is my initial love of horse racing was I grew up just kind of loving statistics. I was the kid that read the sports section every morning in second grade. It would like memorize, the records of every single team in the AL East as a Yankee fan. So this is like, I love this. I'm nerding out a little bit, but okay, so set me through like, all right, go through like each of these tabs here. So if you're listening to this on like Apple or Spotify, like pull up YouTube and pull this up because this is super, super cool to see. Ken's got basically a dashboard right now. It looks like Copilot, Power BI driven, with a bunch of KPIs for ratings-based races. There's an executive overview, condition book adoption, handle performance, better experience, rating validation, population analysis. So first, what I want you to do is like explain to us how you built this, and then a little bit about the why you built this as well.
Okay, so we'll start with why. The reason why I built this is because I am coming from outside of the industry, specifically in an antiquated industry from a technology standpoint. I say this all the time. People that have ever heard me speak before are going to be annoyed because I say it at pretty much every interview that I ever do. Horse racing has so much similarities with the transportation sector. It's crazy. Like you think about the demographic of your average horse trainer compared to the demographic of your average truck driver, and they're both very niche, maybe limited education outside of their field, and have done things the same way for a really long time and need to be shown things or explained to things a few times to get it. And so I always like to lead with what data points do I need to be aware of that will resonate with different people. So if I'm talking to a track executive, they're going to have a totally different decision-making metrics than a trainer who will have a different decision-making matrix than an owner, right? So like if I'm talking to you for First Rodeo, the number one stat here that like really gets my gears going perfectly, if you look here at the top right corner, horses that have competed in ratings races this year have run twice as more than two more additional starts this year than horses who haven't. That is like an astounding statistic for me. That's not, ratings races aren't making horses more sound, of course. What this is saying is there's more sound horses out there, and if given the opportunity to run in a race that they feel is competitive, they're going to run there instead of breezing two more times while they're waiting on their next race. Like, you have an opportunity. If you run fourth, then okay, you just paid part of a feed bill. And if you win, then great. You won. You didn't lose a condition, and you get to run in the same race that you were looking at, right? And so, that's the stat for me from an owner standpoint, a stable manager standpoint. That's the value that I think ratings races have run. Now, if I come over here to the gambler, then, I can look at these races and try to figure out where is my, at Penn National, for instance, the win in ratings races, the win payout is lower. They've had a bunch of horses scratch off, it's been a bunch of off the turf or whatever. But look at the exacta payoff. The exacta payoff stout. Whenever you go through here and you start looking at how much money is in this pools and what's the pool type by ratings versus non-ratings, especially at some of these smaller tracks that are really leaning into them heavily, then we can see where the strong points are. And also we can also be really honest with ourselves and say, like, look, right now the favorites are winning more than they're not. And like, we need to fix that. What needs to change about that? What needs to make the races more competitive? Is the number wrong? Do we need to encourage racing offices to be more liberal with weight? I think yes. It's a ratings handicap. Supposed to be handicapped. And so, I think that's probably the next evolution from that. And I think that in turn flows into the gambler, the wagering experience being more lucrative for people. But from a track executive standpoint, this is step 2. Step 1, get owners. And my gamblers out there, trust me, I love you. This is for you. I promise. But you gotta be pragmatic and understand that step 1 is getting the owners of the horses to want to participate. How can I do that? You can run more. Okay. Step 2 is getting the tracks to buy in. Why do you want to use these races? Can I help your field size? Data says yes. I can see that in this dashboard. Can I help your handle? Data says yes. You could see so in this dashboard. Here's what comes into all of these things. And then thing 3 is, okay, track likes it, owners like it. What do we need to do to make it lucrative and meaningful for the wagering public? Which I would argue it's par for the course now. I don't think that there's any disadvantage to it right now. We can make it better, my opinion, with weight and like learning how we use the bands and what types offer the most compelling races and all of those things. And then also being very pragmatic in understanding what races are you complimenting here? Is this taking the place of a starter, a starter $20,000 race that might have a 3 to 5 favorite that you can now put a bunch of hard knocking horses in that maybe are 30, 40 open claimers against that starter horse. Now they're all running protected. That's a funner race to bet on, right? And so giving the racing secretary an opportunity to go through their population, which is this population analysis tool that I said, and I think this is a really cool tool for me because I can go in and see, like, let's look at, what's your favorite track, Matt, this time of year?
I mean, I should say Saratoga because that's my favorite. But I honestly would be really curious to see Ellis. Like we're cool. Kentucky, New York primarily, and like I think seeing Monmouth is really cool too because given they're one of the few tracks that is relying on the business's OG revenue stream of period wagering. It'd be cool to see Monmouth as well.
So check this out. So we'll do Ellis, but notice I'm clicking multiple things. I'm going to see, because in order to get the Ellis population,
hit
right?
Turf. Yeah, we got horses at Turfway.
Right. No, I need to know Keeneland. It's good. Churchill training. I need to know High Point. I need to know Keeneland. I need to know. I already have Ellis. Who else did you say? Turfway.
Turfway, yeah.
Skylight. I need to know.
So I'm assuming this is pulling from a horse's most recently published workout.
This is pulling from a horse's most workout or race, whichever one was nearest. Oh, wow. And so this is saying, like, these are where these horses are currently having their activity here. Mm-hmm. And so you can see, based on this data, Englishman is clearly the highest rated horse in this region right now. But if I want to say, okay, let's switch over and see, I want to see turf. I want to see turf, sprinters.
Hit boys. We have a good turf sprinter. I want to see where our boy is.
Let's see. There he is. Bam, 102.
That's our boy.
So he's weighted run at 102, which is ironically, before you go into the ringer match at Kentucky Downs, you're the same as your boy Troubleshooting.
If we get in, I'm a little nervous. That's one thing I want to bring up.
You'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. You'll be fine. But yeah, so you can see that. So turf sprinter. So let's say that let's say that you're not 270. And this is where I think it gets really cool because like this 70 and below range. Look at this smorgasbord of horses that are in this range that have run.
And as an owner of like horses that typically sit in this range, I think this is the hardest band to own a turf horse in Kentucky because think about the opportunities you have are very slim. Ellis writes a few races where it's this kind of level on the turf. Churchill Downs, maybe. Keeneland, your shot. Like, unless you're Juddmonte, Godolphin, the big outfits with the really nicely bred horses, like, you're not running on the grass. So, right. Like, something like this is badass for, an operation doesn't have a crazy amount of money, or there's so many second, third order effects that this is positive. And I know you said it doesn't create sound to horses, but in reality, it kind of does, because if you don't run horses over their head, they're going to stay healthy longer, as well as like it has second order effects. Like, okay, if you're a smaller breeding operation, you have a decent horse, you want to get a winner at a Keeneland, a winner at a big Kentucky track, and it's a female, and you want to add her to your broodmare band, but like you gotta jam her in order to get, you know, another race in there to get that win at Keeneland. All
You
of a
know,
sudden, it's a horse too.
one of my favorite texts that I got was, you know, I got a text message from my buddy Will Darty. Will Darty owns Black Ridge Stables. He bred New What's New, which, by the way, what a freaky mare. I saw Heavenly Scat has a runner in the Alabama this weekend as well. Will, you are a madman for doing that. I mean, and so he texted me the other day out of the digital cell. He's going, hey, just bought a horse for your ratings races until I can breed her next year. That's exactly the point. Like the whole point is you got somebody to purchase a horse that they historically would not have purchased because they can keep them busy, have fun racing them, and then they just added a horse to their broodmare band during what is historically the worst time financially to acquire a broodmare is right now. Like, you hold them so long before they get pregnant, and now it's like, oh, well, let's have fun with this horse. We have places that we can ship around and run them in, and, you know, we have tracks that are using them now. You can see here, there's 12 tracks running them. We're knock on wood. I think in September we'll clear the century mark. We'll get 100 of them run, and I think that's great. That's what I want the ratings effect to have on people, is to start thinking about the economics of their business just a wee bit differently, and then you'll see where we're at in a couple of years.
There's so many, if you do like a root cause analysis of some of the issues that plague racing, oftentimes you kind of hear, you know, field size, as well as you hear the economics of the business. It makes more sense to breed than to race. So it's like, I feel like the ratings handicap helps kind of pull that pendulum back a little bit. Like purses, obviously, you know, we've got a really good setup legislatively of like, we're kind of getting popped up a little bit purse wise. So it makes more sense to run. Sales are obviously gangbusters, but I think it's gonna have a lot of great effects. But like one thing that like I jotted down is, you know, an idea or whatever is like, access to like these sort of tools, like that sort of data, I guess, like how is that kind of like, what I would love to see is like, just from a pure like idea standpoint, is like, I would love to use this data with both of my hats, my handicapping hat and my, you know, stable management hat as well, in a sense of, I would love to see, okay, what tracks, which handicap races are showing the largest payoffs, because I think trends are very important, and starting to understand kind of how those handicap races work a little bit better. Can, you know, there's obviously, you know, there's a time right here where you can get an edge betting those races because they're so new, as well as like from a stable point of view, I would love to see, and like there's tools like the algorithm is so good on Instagram, where it's like niche down in a sense. It's like sending me these like ads for like an AI condition book where I know all they're doing is just feeding the PDFs from Claude into, you know, a little app to make a regional based thing. But I would love for, you know, help a trainer, that a smaller trainer that's a stable of 10, that like, you know, come on, my guy in Kentucky, like he gets on all his horses in the morning. You know, he has like a, you know, just bought a house, got a bunch of yard work to take care of too. Like he's a busy dude, so it's like he's thinking outside the box with our horses for sure. And like he always puts them in the best spot. But, you know, get tools for trainers and, you know, stable managers, racing managers, to help kind of see these opportunities a little bit easier, I think would be, you know, a great addition to, you know, what Equibase already offers, which like just having the condition books on the website, like, I think we take it for granted now, but at one point I'm sure that didn't exist. So like that alone is nice, but kind of taking that one step further.
Yeah.
I kind of threw a lot of things out there. I think our brains are very similar, where like we're firing different ideas.
Yeah. I started staring off into the abyss to decide how much social capital I want to spend and not spend and all of this, because I'm gonna show you something. because it's great. But I swear to God, for everybody listening, Matt prepped me zero on this. I've never heard the spiel that he just went on. Okay, ever. Um, but I have heard that feedback and felt it as a racing manager, as a trainer son, and I think that this is a really good opportunity to show the public the way that Equibase and the Jockey Club is trying to think. And even though maybe we're not as good at communicating externally as we should be, which by the way, I'm happy to tell people internally as well. I don't think we're good at all of keeping people abreast at what we're doing. I think that there's so many things that we're working on all the time that we forget, and people assume that nothing's going on. But look, there's some energy in this building that's trying to do good things for the sport. And one of the things is this tool that is going to be part of the new Equibase, and this is the first time it's ever been shown. This is a first rodeo.
You're building this up crazy, but also like to pause on like the Jockey Club. It's like every single person I have interacted with from the Jockey Club, from Jamie Hayden to you to everybody I've met, like the number one thing that everyone's kind of made clear to me is like, we are here to help. And I feel like whenever I've interacted with someone from the Jockey Club, they've always listened to me, and I'm a nobody. We're a very small stable. I'm just a young dude that loves the game. I've always felt listened to. I've always felt like that the support is there if I ask for it. I think maybe I just haven't asked for too much yet. But I personally always felt like I've been supported and always like listened to, which is, very rewarding, very.
Look,
I'm a nobody, which is cool.
Charlotte Clement, I think, said it really well in her speech at the round table. The one sentence that I really took away from her speaking was we need to reposition ourselves as a service organization. And look, yeah, I'm very glad that you've had a great experience with people that you've spoken with at the Jockey Club. I love to think that we're accessible. I love to think that people that have reached out to me have had similar experiences, as well as my peers. And I'm pretty confident that most of them have. However, we need to put our money where our mouth is, and we need to deliver some shit. Excuse my language. But
bro, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Well, this is we need to deliver some shit. And look, so what you're talking about. This is going to be a premium product, okay? No, this is not free, but this is going to be part of the new Equibase. This is what's called the Race Planning Hub. So you'll notice no more PDFs here. These are all of the condition books together. This has the ability to target races with individual horses that are in your virtual stable, and then see what races those have targeted. This shows you a consolidated stakes book, consolidated nominations, which people have asked for over and over again. You'll be able to see stakes nominations on a horse profile as well. So like 270, you could see right now he's probably nominated for the Mahoney that ran last weekend, as well as all the 3-year-old races at Kentucky Downs, as well as all of the other horses that are nominated for them without clicking and cross-referencing a bunch of PDFs, which is great. And so this is probably the last thing that will come out. This is a big bear of a product that I dreamed up, and fortunately have been pretty well supported so far. People haven't laughed me out of the room with this very big idea for people. But this is a race planning hub. To your point, like this is for people, trainers, stable managers to get involved. And want to roll up their sleeves and to help them find the right spot for their horses, and to be able to target and run things effectively. While I have it up, I'll show you. I'll switch over here, and on this same vein, I'll give you a quick flash of the website. So this is the beta site. This is all with live data, but check this shit out. This is the new Equibase profile for horses. People that I've shown it to, I have to kind of reiterate sometimes, like the side by side, because it looks and feels so much different that I don't think it's quite correlated that this is going to replace the current
It's
website.
beautiful, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. So you could, the team, Chris Dahlwehr specifically has been like unbelievable project manager of this. He's listened to so many different people from the horse industry, myself included. Taylor Benson has been awesome with feedback. Ben Kudla has been awesome with feedback. And what's cool is that myself, Taylor, and Ben, we're all like, all of us are well under 40. And like, this is who's building your site. Like we're talking to people and giving feedback and being led with internal and external web designers and engineers to be able to come up with like, this is what we feel like horse racing should look like.
Yeah, I think you see her on the screen too. It's like, tell us what you think, share feedback. It's like you're wanting to hear that feedback. And before we record, I think you said it best in the sense of you want to be a window. I think there's a bit of a changing of the guard right now, old guard, new guard, and I think you're well positioned with your experience, your life experiences, your education experience, your professional experience to sit in a really cool spot that you can relate to so many different parties and, the different generations as well. So I think it's super duper cool. Stories, this is badass that has too.
What am I doing? Golden Tempo. Hang
on. The boy 270.
Look up 270. Here we go. So we'll look up 270. Sorry, I don't have his pickup yet. He'll get one.
I'm good.
He'll get it.
Like, imagine like being like, you put $500 into a horse and now you get to see like your horse, like kind of where it ranks earning wise. Like,
right. So that's what I was going to show you. So like, check this out. So like you go to history, this is the single coolest thing that you can do here, because I can go down here to the beginning of him. I can see where he got bought at. I could see when he was scratched as a maiden. I could see everything that this horse has done up through the current spot, right? And how that entire history came through. I could see his siblings, who he's had run. I could see his pedigree, all of these things. And so
it's insanely valuable from so many different levels, like in a sense of like, I won't, the site, but like there's a set that I almost exclusively subscribe to, which is a ridiculous price per month just to see a horse's workout history. Because that's like a key thing I look at when I'm going to claim a horse. So this now being available, through Equibase for free is, worth its weight in gold to me.
Yeah, it's wonderful, right? And I agree. And let me go over here so you can like see the quick, like the entries. So you could see the next races that are coming out. Like this looks and feels better, right, than it did. But I can go over to tomorrow. Let's say we want to look at tomorrow's races at Saratoga. No, the website is not going to be this slow. Everybody hating right now. It's because it's a beta and I'm sharing my screen. Don't worry, it'll get there. But if you want to get to tomorrow, you could see, just first of like, look how much easier to digest this is. And you can, grab the pocket PPs, you could grab Smart Pick, you could look at all, but then whenever you come in, we're going to have all of the colors that are going to be generated. They won't all be perfect, but it'll be better than what's there now. And then I love that you can go here and like get a quick snapshot of this horse's starts, right? Like right here. You can see, compare horses in this race, and there's all sorts of cool tools that you could do here. Results looks and feels a lot like this.
Wait, scroll down to free tools. Raceland, free race, Smart Pick, Entry Plus. Okay, so this is like one thing you touched on before in terms of like the race planner being a premium product.
Yeah.
I guess, can you explain to me a little bit more? Because like I kind of prepped you for like the magic wand question, and I prepped you for like one of my biggest things is like I wish data was more easily and more, free and organized for a newbie to get into it. So can you explain a little bit about like business model, Equibase, and just start there, and then we could bridge up, because like I don't want to ask 64 questions at once.
Yeah, man. Boy, it's a big one. All right. So it's a big one because there's a lot to go down. There are a lot of different ways it could go. And, sometimes I think that industry leadership has been quiet to, or has kept things close to chest for several various reasons throughout. But a lot of time it's because like we're not for sure which direction we're going to go, or like some things are still in the works, and there's a lot that has to go through it. So if you quote me on this in a year and it's not there yet, I'm sorry. I promise we're working on stuff. We're doing our best. But I think there's a couple of different things that we need to talk about this topic, and I think they're all important. One, again, I am an industry dude. Okay. I am a horseman. I am a gambler. And so whenever I am critical of a group or a certain group, it's coming from a very like earnest place in my soul, because I myself feel the same way. I think that we are a little bit cynical and maybe a little bit spoiled isn't the right word. I don't think that we realize how much is free and accessible right now, like compared to other sports. Like people say, well, you can see anything you want about baseball. It's like, yeah, that's true. But like, I can see all this, those same stat equivalents in horse racing right now. I can go to all of the players in our sport. I can see very easily their win percentages, their ROIs. I could see all these different data points that an individual horse has done. You have access to lots of data for free right now. I think that we need to be better about delivering modern tools. I think that one of the things that like there's this perception that there's not a lot of data out there because we do a really good job historically on Equibase of hiding the cool stuff. Like I think that that's the biggest thing that's going to come from this website redesign is that you're going to be able to find things like what you said, like smart pick entries plus, like that stuff's been around for years. It's just been buried.
Yeah, I think like sidebar too, like ABR just redesigned owner view, and I kind of gave them some feedback, and like that did the same thing where it's like this stuff was kind of hidden, and now it's like you can see it because you're more familiar with it.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think that so that's thing one is I think we've got a lot of data that's out there, and that's probably why there's some frustrations, tension between previous leadership and the general public, is because we're like, oh shit, man, all this tool's out there. Like, what do you mean you want us to do this? And it's like, it's right there. But we failed to get it in front of people the right way. And so I think that we've got to acknowledge that and be better. Same thing is understanding where we're at relative to other sports is important. Like, we want all of the data to be free. Yes, but like, all of the data isn't free in the NFL. In fact, there's a data company that the NFL pays $120 million a year to manage it all, right? I promise you, if there was an entity or people that wanted to pay Equibase $120 million a year, you'd all have everything you wanted and then some. Like, of course, we'd open up all of the floodgates. But the reality is that, that demand isn't there yet because the products haven't been built. So how do you build the products in the ecosystem? I think that you've got to find a balance. And I think that is the way that Equibase is looking at pivoting, is creating this data lake for the building that allows people to try things for a relatively lower cost. Like, if you would have come to me last year and said, I want to build a condition book hub, or I want to build something to communicate with all of my partners, then it would have taken a custom API build that would have started you out in 5 figures. You would have had to pay 10, 15 grand to do it. Can the West Points and, the West Paces and like those groups, can they afford that? Probably, maybe. I don't know. That's their business decision. Can FRRadio? No, you'd rather go buy a horse, right? Yeah. Or that's training bills. And so what we've created is it's like hot off the press, not even really public yet, but it's going to be called the innovation or the incubator initiative. And so what it does is it offers an entry point of data for the building. So you'll have your racing data accessible through a standard API key, and you'll have all of your pedigree data locked together. Now, look, it's not free. Like it's going to cost you, you know, $1,500 for the first 3 months or something to like go and build something. But, and then if you grow, it's like, it's a standard data agreement that exists in all other industries outside of horse racing, which is like, if you grow, yeah, we want to help you build. We view you as a partner. Here's an entry point to the data. If you go and build something cool, your cost goes up with it. Now it's capped and it's correlated to your product's growth. Of course, like it's not, in my opinion, and based on the opinion of others that have been involved in data and sales, it's a very competitive pricing model. But the point is that you're starting from somewhere with no access at all. And now you're getting some access and you're getting a runway to make a business decision of, now you have a cost basis to land a business plan off of. If I'm a developer and I'm interested in the horse racing space, I can now say a 12-month runway will cost me X. I need to price my monthly subscription at X in order to be profitable based on what the data is going to cost me. And that is, unfortunately, the industry could not offer somebody to make that business decision a year ago because the data was all across the organization. It was over here with Equine, it was over here with Equibase, it was over here with Pedigree, and so now it's in an easily consumable thing that allows people to crawl, walk, run, and then make decisions of whether or not they'd like to continue purchasing the data, or they would like to. It didn't work. Let me go back to the sandbox and build something different.
Yeah, I think it's huge, and I think it's like my background. Like I went to school for mechanical engineering. The most amount of like coding I've done, like in college, is like MATLAB, which is like the joke that like you're not a real coder or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's I in my day job, like one of the guys I work with, he's like built these custom tools that like tell him like how to bet on golf, how to bet on baseball, how to bet on basketball. And he's tapping to me. He's like, hey, I want to as a gift to my uncle, he's a big horse racing fan. Like I want to build something for him. He's like, but like, I really don't know where to start. Like it was very easy. I think it's just from he's plugged in these API keys for like the NFL, for golf, for baseball. Like those are easily accessible and they're fairly inexpensive. It's like $50 a month, $100 a month at XYZ. And he's able to build these tools. And I was like, Scott, like, I've tried, and like I haven't been able to get access to like API keys, and like can't really ask to kind of figured they were super expensive. But like I think the number one thing I see from people my age and younger that go to the racetrack is what they do is they ask ChatGPT, who do I bet on here? And I think having something like that available for horse racing, I think would do an ungodly good thing to handle for the first time race goer. I think like one of the challenges that racetracks have, so I've talked to some friends that work for racetracks, XYZ, it's like capturing your customer data and like understanding where you can make their experience better, kind of how to make them come back, I think is a lost art from that perspective too. Like I read an article about like this dude, like if you live in California, you could ask whatever loyalty app you're on, like for your data. Mm-hmm. And like McDonald's had a 500-page, write up on what he does, like how he uses the app. It's like he typically goes like 2 times per month. He spends this much money. Like this is the most common thing they order. So it's like having that level of access to like sort of understanding the customer a little bit better, I think would go a long way. Because I'm rambling because my brain's going a million directions, but like kind of like my challenge.
Let me tell you something that blows my mind. Blows my mind. This isn't critical of anybody or any group, and it's our industry as a whole. And I think I'll respectfully tell the industry this. And I hope it doesn't make too many enemies, but I think we've lost the plot. And here's the stat that tells me that we've lost the plot. You're exactly right. Horse racing is a event. It is a go somewhere for a day event. at a venue, right? We don't keep attendance. Like,
Yeah.
like what? Like we don't, like if you go and look at like post-COVID, it's like we lost sight of that. Like, we don't have, I mean, you can of course come up with guesses based on handle and all this stuff, but like when was the last time outside of the Kentucky Derby or the Breeders' Cup that you scanned a ticket? Like,
Yeah.
like, you go to Oaklawn and Oaklawn has their ways of doing it and doing attendance and all of that, but like whenever you don't pay for attendance at some of these tracks, you know, how can you know how many people are at Saratoga this weekend? You don't.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't even know how many people are there, how can you know how you're going to get them back?
Yeah. And to me, it's as simple as like, hey, you make admission $1, and for everybody that buys the $1 admission, you give them a $2 wager to start betting. And it's like all of a sudden, you now have their email, their phone number. Like you kind of put a little bit of friction there. Like, hey, we're going to $2 like wager, but you have to give us your name and your email and like where you're from.
I think that it's probably like, I found that out on accident, which is how I found out a lot of things in this role, like searching through things and trying to understand data infrastructure, trying to understand, the way things are currently set up and how they flow and then how can we start thinking at a more macro level across the industry and start helping tracks and helping regions and helping horsemen. And so, like we're in such a modern world where there's probably cameras that can count people now. Like, there's probably,
you go into like these manufacturing facilities, like they can not only count people, but they can kind of give you a running tab of like how long it takes somebody to complete a task.
Right. And that's what I mean. Like, how long does it, what does that cost? What does that infrastructure cost to where you could understand how long it took somebody to make their first bet, how much time they spent in the casino versus on the racetrack, who's going to the paddock? Like, we should be able to know all of that demographic. And I know that this is real pie in the sky, but the reality is, this is an industry that should have the resources, and I think does. Some of the tension that I see between certain players in the sport. And look, I have never had a conversation with Mike Rapoli. I have been beside him on Derby Day in the box once. I have had several conversations with Pat Cummins. I don't think that there's any doubt in my mind that if given the right idea and the right people, that he would support fully. And I think that Mike Rapoli may be the stoutest or one of the stoutest, but I think that there's 10 people right behind him that if they had more confidence in the leadership, if they had more confidence, and I'm talking at every level, I'm not being critical of the Jockey Club, I'm not being critical of racetracks, I'm saying like across the board, if they felt like there was something worth investing in, I think that it's a drop in the bucket for some of these people to say, like, how do we make workouts better? How do we make data better? How do we start tracking attendance better and start creating a more customer experience for things? I'll go back to Mike on the, Mr. Rapoli has a, he's invested in the football league, right? And like the thought process from a marketing mind is genius. Yeah, make it feel it's smoking packed, right? That's how you feel at Keeneland. That's why you remember people are like, Keeneland could never have a Breeders' Cup because it's so small. And then you go to the Breeders' Cup there. I guess the first time they got lucky or unlucky because it was COVID, but like the other times that you're there, it's like, whoa, like you can't hear yourself think. That's an electric experience. Oaklawn is another smaller venue. Ellis Park always feels like there's more people there than there probably is. And so there's little things about how can you get people to flow through, have a good time. And I really believe that this industry has access to, use the word earlier, titans of industry. Like, we have direct access to so many brilliant people with
that love the game, that care about the game, that want to see it move forward.
Copious amounts of resources that want this game to be
successful. The craziest amount of like natural resources that's just like untapped.
That are also like, you say natural resources, like right there. Like, you and me both can name another sport that you can go up to and high five the owner when they win.
Yeah.
What? I can go give a hug, and I understand I know these people, but you can too, right? Like, you can go give a hug to a jockey after they win a grade 1 when they're walking back through the spectators at Saratoga. It's insane. There's not another sport that has better access. And you know, I'll I'll sort of synthesize it all where after spending time in other industries and getting started on the business side of this industry, I believe that maybe where we've lacked historically is the modern project manager. Like, I think that there's so many things to work on and there's so many opportunities that it becomes overwhelming. And you have to eat an elephant one bite at a time. And so that's why I get excited as a young leader in this space, because I'm like, okay, I'll use the rating system as an example. Is it perfect? Nowhere near. But if you would have told me as a spectator a year ago, if I was not involved, and a lot of people did say this on record, by the way, if you would have said that the rating system will have in its first year 12 tracks that represent first group, Oaklawn, Keeneland wrote one, you're going to have over 100 races ran with 500 plus participants. That's pretty damn good adoption for any industry, especially this one. And all that did to me was prove that when you get the minds focused on the right problem, you can solve the problem pretty damn quick. Or at least get started solving it. Now we're figuring it out. It's needed iteration. We need help from racing offices. We need feedback. We need collaboration. All of the things that take you from a gallop to a breeze. We need those things, right? But it didn't take as long as I personally thought it would. It felt like an overwhelming task. And I think it's just because we got the right players in the right room and we did it. We did it in a methodical way. Now, how do we view the whole industry? It's one very small piece of the field size puzzle. Okay, now we got to do the same thing at marketing. We got to do the same thing at customer experience. We got to do the same thing at gambler experience, website. We have to be doing all those really big projects have to be pushing towards an overall improved industry. And, look, it's 8:20 at night. I've been here all day. It's not because I'm still fired up about it. It's because the industry is addictive, man. Like,
yeah.
I
mean, it's like I woke up today at 5 in Del Rio, Texas. Like, drove 5 hours today, seen 3 customers, like grinded. Like, I knew I would sit down here. Like, I was tired, but I knew I'd sit down here and like, I'm having trouble going to sleep tonight because I'll still be jacked up with adrenaline. Like, there's nothing better. And that got me going. I'm gonna record that. So let's go out in the morning to get me going. But one thing I'm gonna push back on in terms of like the incubator initiative, like whatever, not for me that would benefit from this, but have a .edu discount. That would be like my one recommendation for that. Is like if you're a college kid that goes to the UK and you want to build something in your dorm room with your Claude Premium account, I think that would be awesome to see what would happen there. I think the storytelling of that would be really, really cool too. Of like, all right, like this kid from his dorm room, took that incubator initiative thing, built a tool, went to Keeneland, hit the pick 5 with his boys, and now he's got a business out of it. Like that's based on like horse racing data. I think like that, like the power of like the storytelling of that could be crazy too.
Let me coach you on something. One thing, that's not pushback. That's a good idea. We've got to get it through our heads that you're not arguing if you have a good idea. It's not pushback. We want that. Like, I'm going to literally, as soon as we get off, I'm going to send an email to Charlotte Clement and Kyle McDonald. And I'm going to say, hey, I did this podcast and I had this great idea. That's a brilliant idea. Yeah. No shit. We should do that. We should absolutely do that. We want people to be building and doing things. And yeah, maybe we partner with schools that have equine programs. Who knows where that could go?
Yeah.
But yeah, they have a great idea, and we're open to it, man. We want that stuff.
I think it's like I got plenty of ideas. I think, like I said, we probably have similar brains, and like I try to connect anything I do in real life to horse racing, no matter what it is, and like at some point, in a conversation, like I'm flying back from Saratoga after the Whitney/the sale. I'm sitting next to this lady, super duper nice lady. She like works in Hollywood, has her own agency, da 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 da. Just bought a house in Cooperstown, and eventually, like the conversation came around to horse racing. What we're doing in town, horse racing, da 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 da. And I kind of asked her, I was like, "What sports are you into?" Like, she's kind of like this granola lady that like lives out in California. She's like, "Well, I've gotten into F1 through Drive to Survive. Like, has horse racing ever did something like that?" I was like, "Well, there's the race at the Crown. It was pretty cool, da 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 da." And she's like, "Well, like how like." That's like top of funnel. Like, how does somebody get into it more? Because now, like, I can watch the races when I see it on a bar or something like that, F1, and I can go and see like the standings of the championships and the teams and like follow the names. Where it's like, I feel like in horse racing, it's kind of hard to follow the names. And like, she had the idea, so I was stealing from her. She was like, "Why isn't there like a overall like jockey championship?" Like, yes, I get there's the Eclipse Award, champion jockey, da 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 da. But like for me, it's like, okay, what if like there was an overarching, on Equibase, you guys keep track of the leaders per track for like, meet leaders. What if there was like an overall like champion jockey based upon, you get a certain number of points for a grade one, like first, second, third, like the same point system. And you kind of, I think it'd be cool too, because like all of a sudden, a jockey out in, that rides the circuit in Arizona and then goes and rides, Lone Star or somewhere like niche that like dominates his local circuits. And now all of a sudden, like you see him on the leaderboard, like with, the Ortiz brothers, with Pratt, with people that you recognize. And that boosts their kind of profile. And it's like, I think that there's one of the questions I had written down is like, what, like a data point that makes you most excited, and like kind of the opposite, where like a data point that like you kind of view as the biggest opportunity for improvement. And I think like what gets me so excited is like that there is so much opportunity. It feels like we haven't really tried as an industry, like there's so much opportunity where like you said, if you niche down, you do that for marketing, for racing secretaries, and try to solve like one problem for each of those groups, all of a sudden like that collective, push is going to go a long way. So like, I'll shut up now and stop rambling. So you kind of answer that question, but I'm kind of famous for asking 6 questions at once, but like like, what's one like data point, whether it's like, it doesn't have to be an exact data point, but like what's one thing that makes you most excited about where the puck is headed? And then what's something that like makes you concerned, but I'm a spin zone glass half full guy, that something concerned that flip it to an opportunity?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, you should do a better job of prepping people, because like putting me absolutely on the spot here is challenging. I like it a lot.
Hey, whatever you want. We can spin on it.
No. I want this to be live, and don't you dare edit it. I want people to know this is exactly what I come up with. I am most excited, to your point, untapped potential, and what I'll call static eyes. 25 million people watched the Kentucky Derby this year. That is a really big top of funnel. Like, and I don't think that there's any way that people can spin that negatively. Like, that is a massive top of funnel for you to pull fans into the sport. And
the top 100 like viewed program in America across anything. It's like
across any of
games,
any of it. And so whether or not like, what causes that, what the secret sauce is, what the reality is we haven't figured out the solution. And so that's the thing that is most excited, or not. We have figured out the solution. Probably we haven't figured out what's going into that magic cocktail. Right. And so I think that's probably my favorite and least favorite stat. Look, I would be remiss if I didn't say that a declining field crop is very concerning for me. I think that, overall, the way that we view breeding and the sales industry, I think is nearing the point of natural correction. Like I think that we've got to start breeding for, longevity. We've got to start breeding for soundness. We've got to start focusing on statistics that really lead to, sustainable careers. And I think that it's definitely something that can be done. I think about one of the shining stars in the sport if he does get enough credit, he won't know what to do with it because he's so humble. But Ben Bernard at Pin Oak and his old team, a brilliant dude that's involved, young guy that's involved at a high level with his mother and his family. And like they said, fuck it, we're gonna stand our own horse. And like they decided to breed, stand their horse named Scalding. He had his first winner. He's a private stallion. When was the last time we had a true private stallion? Well, guess what? Those are the same people that own Parchment Party. How cool would it be to see Parchment Party, a marathoner on dual surfaces that ran in Australia, did all this cool shit at these classic distances? How cool would it be to see Parchment Party bred to McLean's Music Mare? Talk about combining speed and endurance, right? So like I do think that you're getting to this point of like where that is breed to race can be there. I don't think it's too far gone. But I got away from my original answer, which was the dual-edged sword of that 25 million followers, or 25 million viewers, is also the most negative, because where do they go? And we don't retain them right now. We do a really bad job of it. I guess I talk a lot, but I am not the most lovable human in the world. And I have never taken somebody to the track that has had a bad time. I got to hang out with John Franklin in Saratoga, and I took him and his girlfriend with my wife, and we went to my dad's barn, and I made him watch me let a horse roll. Just let a horse roll in a sand pit. And you would have thought that I put a freaking bear on a unicorn. I mean, the fun that they had.
That's because the horse is underrated. I think we forget it. Like,
the point of the statement is like AVR is doing a really good job of attempting this. And you mentioned it earlier. I think it's important to bring it back to it. Like the algorithms are so specific right now. We are ignorant to think that what we see is what's out there. Like, no, we see what is crafted for us specifically. And the more negative you are, the more negativity you see. The more positive you are, the more positive things that you see. I have literally influenced my mood by typing in something specific so that I see a specific influencer. And the next day, all I see is Grant Cardone telling me like, oh, you got to hustle. You got to, yeah. And then if I do the same thing versus some comedian that's got dark humor, like that's that is my algorithm. And so I say that like, we're getting out there. John Franklin's a great example. Like,
dude, I had a phone conversation with him probably like 3-4 months ago. Like we just like I shot a comment on him, and like he's just genuinely into the sport, which is the best thing in the world. He's the man.
Like dude from Jersey that like is totally your stereotypical Jersey guy. Like went to Monmouth with freaking his grandpa, and like just on fire for the sport. And that's what we need. It is not a coincidence that Jason Worth and you've got Jason Worth, you've got Dave Portnoy, and all of his friends, by the way, that have you noticed that like the Barstool Sports crew is not, they don't do shows and watch parties for the horse races. Why? Because they're enjoying them.
Yeah.
Like think about that. Like we're becoming important people. Maybe important's not the right word. They are important, but like influential people that people follow and find interesting, we're becoming their pastime again. And like, to me, I think that we've got to do a better job. We're improving, but we have to do a better job of storytelling and grabbing those eyes, because whenever we get people into the web of horse racing, man, it's hard not to fall in love.
I think grabbing eyes and grabbing some customer data and making people feel like, I say it not from a Big Brother point of view. I think you think to your point too, you started to sound a little Big Brother with like, who's in the paddock, who's there. But like, to me, it's like people want to feel like, like everything we do on our phones, like so customized now, we're kind of used to it, where it's like people want to feel important. People want to feel like, catered to, where it's like, I think Twin Spires is a little thing at Churchill, but I mean, like my little brother, who's like not gambling a ton of money, but like, well, I'm a Jersey guy too. Like, he gets jacked up about his status at the Borgata and getting a free room on a Thursday night. Like, bro, like that room's gonna cost you twice as much they would have charged you. But like, horse racing doesn't do a good job of like you said, 25 million top of funnel and like 0.1% actually convert to like an everyday fan. I think it's such a big opportunity. And like another sidebar, you're talking about breeding. Another idea I have, I think Pinot like is like at the top. Like they're buying millionaires horses, like they whatever operation they have. But on the smaller end, I think it like what would be cool is they write these like restricted, 65K or like sold or RNA'd. To me, very cool. And I don't know how you do it data wise. You could tell me, you're the data guy, Mr. Equibase. But for the smaller operations that are breeding, 10 or less mares, and I know it's probably extremely difficult for field size, but even if it's like one race, every meet where it's like, okay, this race is restricted to homebreds of like that bred less than 10, less than 20 mares, or maybe you increase the pool where it's like bred to stallions that bred less than 50 mares that season. Like having we have like the option side of things of like the lower level. Like I love it because if we buy a horse for cheap at Keeneland, we know, okay, we can win the restricted maiden race and then we're eligible for the starter race too. Like that's awesome. Having that for the homebred breeding operations too would be an amazing incentive as well.
Yeah, I think that those are really good examples of like, we have evolved a lot as a sport. Like you just talked about two conditions that didn't exist 10 years ago. And we've introduced another one with the rating system. And so I think that if we've shown anything, it's like, if we act like it's impossible to change in this sport, but it really just takes the right person saying, let's change. And I think that there's no, I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's no shortage of good ideas in this sport. And I really don't think that there's that many barricades to doing it. Like there's, what you just talked about is kind of like, the New York Stallion series.
Yeah.
Right. Like very similar. Like it goes about it a different way, but you've effectively created a race type of horses that are for stallions less than $15,000 that probably got less than 50 mares last year. Right. And so how do you then switch that to the breeder side of things? And do you even need it to be under a certain amount of money? The reality is, dude, if we took $25,000 or something from all of the state bred programs and said, we're going to have a homebred championship on December 31st, like you could raise, $1 million. You got $1 million. All of a sudden you got people nominating and fighting for the spot. Like that's what you got to do. And think about the Pegasus, the first time the Pegasus, like it was $1 million a spot in the gate. It was,
you paid up.
And people were, you had Luch at the time was like bartering spots. Like we were brokering things around. Like it was, you didn't know who was in there, but you owned the spot in the gate. Like, and so I think that there's, we just need a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit. I agree. I really believe that it's, I really believe that sometimes it's like information overload and an overwhelming amount of opportunity. Maybe I'm just a hopeless optimistic, but I just think like if we just get started on something, like, that's a great idea. Send a message to a board. Like,
I think you hit the nail on the head too, in a sense of like racing's never really had like a project manager to like oversee any of these. I think there's like plenty of ideas, but I think the beauty of it's like the stakeholder. I think the joke is if you're in horse racing, you're oftentimes wearing like 6 different hats where it's like you kind of just get busy. There's a lot of shit to do within like whatever sector of the industry you're in. And then like for me as like an elective part of it, like I don't make like my salary, like I've lost way more money than I've made. I was showing my tax return, like I lost over like 5 figures, which is a lot of money for someone like not up hard at school, like running first rodeo. But like all that being said, it's like the elective groups, like I have nothing but good ideas. I think they're good ideas. Nothing but ideas that like I would love to execute, but like so much time in the day. So it's like having I think the position that you're in now, I think if there could be, more opportunities for people to kind of see things through, as well as like, I don't know how like the incentives could align. Cause it's like, my whole point is like, people in the industry are oftentimes wearing 64 different hats. And then the people that are elected, the owners and the bettors, they have their own shit outside of racing too. So it's kind of like a side project, hobby,
Yeah.
like pet project. So it's like, how does the industry capture all those natural resources of like all those ideas, all the like John Franklin's and micropolies, tons of industry that are coming in and like pointing towards the North Star. I think like that's the biggest thing. It's like having that project manager, having somebody quarterback the offense, like having a true like, all right, we're gonna lead this, give people some confidence, like, and all of a sudden, like a team's got a good quarterback, it's much easier to sign free agents. I think horse racing is like missing that, signal caller. They're missing that like, the guy that's gonna attract the receiver that's gonna take a pay cut to come to the roster to try to chase a ring, or the 5-star quarterback that recruits the 4-star receiver to the squadron.
Look, that was for me, and I don't think that his name gets said enough. But like for me, that was Kyle McDonald. For me, Kyle is a leader with Equibase. That I had a conversation with him. I took a significant pay cut to come work in horse racing. And I really I think maybe in my head subliminally, I was just waiting to feel that confidence to like, can I make a difference here? And then whenever you get in and you start realizing, well, it's really hard. I get shit on like every day, but I think it's working. Like I think that there's good things that I can see now that are tangibly moving in the right direction. And so how do I replicate that feeling of what you're talking about? Like, how do you recruit people to come and be a part of a team and build something really cool and have like this renaissance of racing? And I think that the number one thing that we have to do is listen, like be accessible and listen. And I think a lot of the animosity that comes from people, or like the disdain towards groups, is because they feel like they haven't been heard, or that they can't be. I've had some really good conversations on Twitter, X, whatever it's called. I've had some really good conversations with people that have like vehemently disagreed with me, and I don't think I'm doing anything special by talking to them like a human. Like, okay, help me understand why you feel that way, and then like, here's my thought on it, and this is why we did it this way. And 100% of them have ended with, thanks for explaining it. Like, and like I did, like, we're not a bunch of shithead people that like the community is not a bunch of just like nasty trolls that hate everything about it.
There's a reason why that someone's mad. Like
they're pissed off. They're frustrated. Like they want it to be better. And I think that, step one is listen. And I was so proud, like at Saratoga, we were up at Saratoga for the roundtable and the Whitney and the sale. And I looked around and I saw, like, you mentioned Jamie, like I saw Jamie Hayden, I saw Kyle, I saw myself on the last race, 2 races after the Whitney. It's like, that's what you need. You need the leaders of the sport that are hanging around to the last race and until the line kills down at Shake Shack so I can go crush a hot dog, walk into my car. Like, you need like people that are fans first to be around the fan base and like listen and take ideas and try to implement them.
That's Jesse Cole, the banana ball guy.
Yeah.
See, that's his book. I read it fans first. I was like, well, I want to kind of learn about this from, put my horse racing hat on and read.
I haven't read it. Yeah, I'd love to. That's great.
That's literally his calling card is like, I mean, he calls it fans first. Some like whatever the fan wants, like that they should lead with that. But I think from a leadership point of view too, it's like being a fan first is important too.
Look, we're unique as an industry because we really do have multiple lords, right? Like the gambler is 100 million% our fan, but you know what? Like the 6-year-old girl that is betting on the pink horse at every race is also our fan. Like those are both customers.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to have a very diverse way of thinking about how you serve them both and have them both enjoy an experience. And then ultimately want to continue to invest their time and energy and resources into the game at various levels. And I, putting a bow back on it, like the ability to relate to different people and to be open-minded and to be able to take feedback critically and like spin it into something that's positive momentum. Look, I'm really optimistic about where we sit as an industry. I think that there was a time where I was less optimistic, but I look around at racetracks, I see young people, I see new faces in this building, and I think that we're all starting to pull in the right direction, and I'm just happy to be a part of it, man. I mean, I want to be a part of a story one day. I think we're going in the right direction.
100%. I got my Magic Wand question and stuff, but I almost want to end it there because I feel bad. It's 8:42. So if anybody ever says you don't care, you send me and I'll fight them personally. Because
No, don't fight.
This morning early, you're still at the office right now, bro. So it's like we can end things right there because that shit got me jacked up, and it's a good place to finish.
Okay.
But if you want to answer the Magic Wand question, you can too.
Magic Wand.
Unlimited money, unlimited buy-in. So everyone's in. You have unlimited money.
Unlimited money, unlimited buy-in. I would unlimited money, unlimited buy-in from every racetrack in the country, all the leaders.
Every stakeholder, every breeder, every racetrack executive, every owner, every bettor, every person in that building in the jockey club, everybody.
Everything is solved by, in my opinion, with all of that buy-in. Everybody's stories get told equally on a single network that can tell stories that are both, you have a gambling segment, you have a feel good segment, you have a business segment, you have all of the things of horse racing. We are an entire ecosystem. Every channel that you go to every day, this sport encompasses all of it. It encompasses CNBC, it encompasses wagering on sports, it encompasses the sport itself, it encompasses,
Disney Channel with the little girl betting pink
horses. That's what I mean. It is a dream network, and I think that we've missed by being too focused on one type of thing on both sides. Like I think that on all of the sides. And so if I had a magic wand, I would have all of the stories and all of the streams and all of the eyeballs on a single place with adequate talent to be telling the story in a thoughtful way and relating to multiple audiences, because I really think there's something for everybody in the sport. I really think that we just gotta land it. We just gotta land on their screen, man.
100%. To steal your phrase, ties the bow on. I think to me, that's the answer of how do you capture the 25 million watching the Derby is you somehow that broadcast, somehow that gets on your algorithm, and next thing you know, it connects to whether you're a CNBC guy or you're a fashion person. I don't even know what the fuck to call it. But like there's something for everything for you in this game. I think we just do a shit job at telling those stories.
And look, it can all be the same person, right? Think about that. How many stories does Cherie DeVoe touch?
Yeah.
How many little girls relate to her? How many women that feel like they have to be more professional than they authentically are to win in an industry relate to Cherie, seeing her go batshit crazy for her horse come down the finish line and then reapply red lipstick, kiss a trophy, and act like a proper woman. Like it was not to even suggest there's anything improper about the way that she was acting. She's a badass. But to see, like, name another story that has that scope. Like, there's not one. And I've said that like 3 times with 3 different examples on this call. Like, there's so many good stories that have so many diverse audiences. And I really think if I had a magic wand, man, I'd tell the story. And I'd tell the story to the mainstream public, and I would tailor it for the mainstream public and make them a fan. And then I'd make them all gamble, and then I'd make them all claim and breed horses, and we would all just win.
Yep, I think it's a great way to finish it. I think it's like, to me, it's like I'm still a fan. I'm a big football fan, but like to me, I see the storylines that come out of the NFL, and it's like, damn, bro, we're grasping at straws here. Like the whole, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. I get there's a pop culture thing, but like it gets shoved in your face and reiterated and reiterated and reiterated.
Yeah.
And like I feel like with horse racing, we don't have the infrastructure there to do something like that. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you out of here. Let's do rapid fire questions. I'll get you out of here. I know you're drinking coffee at 8 p.m., which is crazy. 9 p.m. You're not in Central Time, you're in Eastern Time. But all right. One phrase, one sentence answers here. Let's take it home here.
Okay.
Favorite racetrack.
Keeneland Racecourse.
Favorite horse of all time.
Whitmore. No, you know what? No. Sorry. No, not Whitmore. Doc Sullivan is my favorite horse of all time.
Oh, yeah. All right. Favorite big race days like Breeders' Cup Friday, Kentucky Derby, Belmont Stakes Day. Biggest day in racing that you love.
My favorite race day is Arkansas Derby Day.
I love Arkansas Derby Day too. So many good stories on Oakland. I love that place. The last two questions could be horse racing related, could be non-horse racing related.
Okay.
To take it however you want. When you hear the word successful, who is the first person you think of?
Didn't think of any human. Is that a bad thing?
No, it's whatever. It can be whatever.
Successful. No, I take that back. Whenever I think of the word successful, I think of John Wood, Pyramid of Success. Like
Yep.
it's in here. I've got it. It's one of the many books in here.
Formative book for me as well.
John Wood.
Yep. All right, last one. You're a young dude still, young leader in the game, but if you had to give advice to your younger self, to younger Chance, what would that advice be?
Do it faster, man. Don't be afraid to get involved. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to look like an idiot. And don't be afraid to like speak your mind about your passions, because you can make a difference. And all it takes is like one person that listens thoughtfully to move your agenda forward. And yeah, I wouldn't have waited. If I could do it again, I wouldn't have waited. I would have come right here.
Yeah. And then if someone wanted to take that initiative, reach out to you with an idea, whatever, like what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, I'm active on X. You send me a DM on X, C Moquett, Moquett, at Equibase.com. Hit up Matt, hit up me. I'll give you my cell phone number and call me, FaceTime, whatever. I'm available.
Yeah. Thanks, Chance.
Thank you, man.